4 years ago, I felt empty.
I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like there's something more to life.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I've made it, but my life feels a lot more fulfilling than it did back then. And so I want to condense the last 4 years of deep self-exploration and share 4 specific takeaways that you can use to implement in your own life. My hope is that by the end of this video, you have at least one new actionable idea that you can use to improve the meaning in your life. Let's go. See, over the last 4 years on social media, I've noticed that particularly kind of the self-improvement space has moved more and more towards money and business, but no one actually teaches you how to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. And I mean, I understand why. It's like money, women, Lamborghinis, whatever, they get clicks. People want things fast. But as someone who has always resonated more with meaning, it never really clicked for me. And so that's kind of led me to kind of figure this out on my own and build my own framework for fulfillment and meaning.
I always felt this tension. I feel like I'm just playing a different game, and I feel like I have a different vision of success and definition of success than what I'm seeing online.
See, at this point in my life, I was working as a software engineer in San Francisco. And I'll be honest, it was exciting. It was fun for a while. I felt like I was being challenged. I was learning. We were building a new product from the ground up. Things were new, things were changing every day. But over time, that excitement faded. Things stopped being new. I felt like I stopped growing. I stopped learning. And that's when I ran into this tweet that I felt like resonated with me very deeply. Getting paid to coast at work sounds like a tremendous deal until you realize that you're wasting a third of your life not learning. And I hated the idea of wasting my life, of not growing, of not progressing. And so it took me a while to kind of put the pieces, the puzzle pieces together later. But the first part of this is find a meaningful challenge. Find something that stretches your abilities, that pushes you to grow, something that balances that line between chaos and order and allows you to find that macro level flow that keeps you engaged. Around the same time, I started to disconnect from my long-term vision. My goals and vision for the future life that I wanted to live started to change. And I started to realize that the actions that I was taking each day were no longer moving me towards that vision for my life. And around this time, I was searching for passion. People are throwing out, what are you passionate about? What's your passion? And I kept trying all of these different things. I tried photography and posting photos on Instagram. I built a web app that would clip highlights from live streams. I built a game in Unity. I tried drawing. And each time after these, I would reflect and journal. What are my current top interests? What am I really good at? Organization, teaching, documenting, photography. Each time I felt like I started to get closer as things started to kind of repeat and resurface. But honestly, it took probably months, maybe years, for me to figure out how I could align the things that I was interested in with the life that I wanted to live in the future. But it was these two things, meaningful challenge and personal interest, that really started this fulfillment journey or puzzle for me. Working on something that is important to you, something that you value, something that is meaningful to you. I've found that you can go very far when you align that, but it's one of those things that no one can do for you. Like, no one's gonna tell you what you're interested in. You have to figure that out yourself and experiment and self-reflect on the things. One of the best pieces of advice that I got was from Jay Shetty on purpose. Life and finding your purpose is like a puzzle. When you start a puzzle, all of the pieces are scattered, disconnected, and meaningless. It's impossible to know at that point how all of the pieces fit together. However, you always start with one piece or one corner and start fitting pieces together as you go. Start doing things that you're curious about and then just let it build. Before the second two pieces of this fulfillment puzzle, I want to briefly talk about money, because there was a particular moment when my mindset started to change. I had just started my software engineering job, and I received my sign-on bonus payment for over $23,000 cash into my bank account. I think it was 40 pre-tax. But I remember distinctly feeling this feeling of excitement, and then 5 minutes later, I was already looking forward to the next paycheck. I was already looking forward to the future, and I felt like I couldn't be grateful for that moment in the present. And I contrast that experience and times when I received a paycheck with times when I've helped someone or made an impact on someone and heard about the impact that I've made on their life. Those memories are like stored as this warm sunshine feeling of satisfaction inside my brain and heart, compared with just another Friday paycheck. And so I understand that this topic is nuanced, but my proposition is to compare the long-term effects of receiving or spending money with how you've actually felt and how you've looked back on helping someone or making an impact on someone else's life. I get that it's not black and white. I'm not here to say it's either or, but I realized that it's a lot less about the money, about the number, than people make it out to be online. My next and maybe most important takeaway came as I was reflecting on times when I was put in leadership positions. I was put as the lead developer for a feature at my job, and I was also reflecting on times when I was like the section leader for my band in college or other leadership positions. I felt that when I was responsible or leading, when I was responsible for something, for someone, that I did better work, I was more motivated, and I felt more meaning from that work. And it was kind of funny, maybe not that funny, but they rotated people the next feature. They put someone else as lead developer, and immediately, I felt a loss of motivation to put in any extra effort above what was required.
Hello, it is currently 2:24:04 p.m. and I haven't done anything at work in the last, probably since noon.
And so if you've heard Dr. Jordan Peterson talk at all, the clinical psychologist, he has frequently talked about taking on more responsibility and how that leads to a more meaningful and purposeful life.
Responsibility. That's what gives life meaning. It's like lift a load.
So what I took away from this was we need to be responsible for something. We need to take on responsibility, especially as a man, to take on roles and work where people rely on you to take ownership of your work, to take ownership over your life, and feel the difference that makes on the motivation and meaning that you have in your life. There's one last piece of this, because at different points in my life, I had all of these things. I had the meaningful challenge, I had the personal interest, I had the responsibility, but I felt like there was still something missing to this framework. And so I was reflecting on my time in college as a teaching assistant for computer science. I held lectures, I held office hours, and students would come to my office hours and I would help them with their homework. And I remember loving that experience of teaching, of helping someone come to the answer themselves and getting that immediate one-on-one feedback of saying something and seeing the gears turning and then seeing the light bulb go off. And I contrast that with the time I spent at my job when I never heard from the customers that I was helping. I kind of felt like I was just working for the sake of working. And so the last piece of this is contribution, is getting that direct feedback from the people that you're helping. Making a contribution to help someone else and getting that feedback from them, hearing the impact that you're making on their life. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that all they want to do is just help people. And so I feel like it's largely a universal desire. And so the question becomes, are you getting the feedback from the people that you're helping? Are you getting the feedback from the work that you're putting in? So I've condensed 4 years of these experiences down into these 4 building blocks that you can use and apply to build your own fulfilling and meaningful life. Meaningful challenge. Work on something that challenges you, that you can grow from. Personal interest. Aligning this work with something you have personal interest in. Responsibility. Taking on roles and work where others rely on you. And contribution. Making sure what you do benefits real people and that you hear that feedback from them. So what action should you take next? Take out a pen and paper, hit the subscribe button, and answer these questions. What were some times I was meaningfully challenged? Am I working on something that aligns with my personal interests? What were some times I had more responsibility or others relied on me? And am I seeing the results from the people that I'm helping? That's it. If this was helpful for you, drop a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.